We are just 4 days away from a government shutdown, and over the weekend, the new House Speaker finally revealed his plan to keep the government open. And if it's passed, it'll avoid a government shutdown this week. But it would automatically give us 2 more government shutdowns. But does this bill have a chance of being passed? Well, let's talk about it. Let's start by talking about this interesting new approach from the House Speaker. It's what's called a clean laddered CR. You're probably wondering, what the hell is that? Fair question. I'm going to tell you. First, let's talk about the word clean. A clean bill in this context means the Speaker's proposal keeps the government spending status quo. It does not include any spending cuts, and it does not include any spending increases. That means it does not include extra funding for Israel, Ukraine, the border, or for the people of Maui or victims of other natural disasters through FEMA. A CR is a continuing resolution. That is a bill that temporarily keeps the government funded for a certain amount of time. It is not a full government spending plan, which actually was due back on September 30th and is still not done. In essence, a continuing resolution just kicks the can down the road and sets up for another government shutdown on a different date. Now, we see this all the time. But what's unusual about this plan is the laddered part of it, or the 2-step part of it. The House Speaker is suggesting, instead of temporarily funding the entire government until a certain date, he wants to fund parts of it until certain dates. So in his case, he wants to fund the military and veterans programs, agriculture and food agencies, and the Departments of Transportation and Housing and Urban Development through January 19th. And the remaining government funding for the State Department, Justice Department, Commerce Department, Labor, Health and Human Services, and all of the others would expire on February 2nd. That means if Congress doesn't come up with a funding plan for the first section of agencies by January 19th, those agencies would shut down and the rest would stay open. So while the government is partially shut down, Congress would have to figure out how to get those agencies back open and find a way to fund the rest of the agencies before February 2nd when the rest of them shut down. Does that make sense? So, will this thing pass is really the question. At this point, it is unclear. There are already conservative Republicans lining up against this plan. The White House calls it unserious and a recipe for more Republican chaos. Now, House Democrats haven't officially said whether they would support this plan or not. But the reality is, with more than a handful of House Republicans already saying no to this, Speaker Johnson is going to have Democrat support if he wants to keep the government open after Friday. And that's exactly what got the former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy fired. So we'll have to see what happens this time. We will start to see test votes on this plan tomorrow.